All right, hi. This is Matt Bradley-Tschirgi, and we're going to take a look. I did the design on this game, Resident Evil Outwoke, the video game, Part 1, should be noted. This took a long time to do. I'm going to turn down the desktop audio a bit. It's a bit loud here. Let's do this in the options. It was made with RPG Maker MV. It was the newest one at the time. Now there's MZ. We have it available to download for free at uwebolraw.com. And there's a talk. I haven't streamed this before. Maybe I'll stream it again. But I'll be talking about the game development as in playing it and why we made the choices that we made. If anyone in the chat, could they tell me that does the audio sound good? Any of that? Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay, that's cool. So. Let's get ready to rumble. Let's get it started. All that fun, good times. Whatever cliche you can think of, I'm going to do it. Nope, didn't want to do that. Great. Okay, let's go. So, this is a standard. So, Gary Otto, who's one of Uwe Boll's, he's worked with Uwe for a while as a producer, did a lot of did the extra artwork in here, basically. I did some minor cleanup work. And it's kind of like, think of it, this game as like a Uwe Boll cinematic universe sort of thing. And so the main character is Bill Williamson. That's his helmet right there on top of a toilet from the Rampage movies, Uwe Boll's Rampage trilogy. So look in there in our options. And I'm going to lower this. That's better. The background music just drives me nuts. I'm going to turn that down a bit. And we're going to go back and start the new game. So this is based off the screenplay. It had to be, working with Gary, I had to make this be match the screenplay. So there's a lot of cutscenes, but there's also dungeons. And we had the tutorial, which this game starts with. It's a pretty late edition. I'll also be taking notes with my pen on scrap paper because I plan to do a 1.4 version to fix any bugs that are out there in the wild blue yonder. And again, you can get the game for free at uwebolraw.com. So let's go. Right, so these voices are just in the beginning, more or less. I did the voiceover for this. The idea was if you had never played an RPG, but maybe liked Uwe Boll or Uwe Boll Raw, his talk show on YouTube, and you come to this game and you hadn't played an old RPG, you wouldn't really know how to play it, which I think is fair. The games didn't really do a lot of explaining, if any at all. So and if anyone wants to ask questions in the chat, go ahead. I have that open in a separate window right here. So I just recorded these with the same equipment I used to record my podcast, Equalcast 2 and Friends. So although these sprites come with the game more or less, Gary modified them a bit, and I was able to do some cleanup work in the sprite sheets. So I did kind of like a flat reading on purpose to sound like the bad dialogue from like the Sega CD RPGs, like Lunar or something, where it's like, oh, "Come on, Timmy, we must go to the well right now." That kind of flat line reading is what I did, and we got some pretty funny complaints about that online.
Press the up key in your keyboard to move your character up.
It should be mentioned this game got we tried to release it on Steam banned it. They said it was a troll game, which I don't really know what that means. So that's why you can get it for free at uwebolraw.com.
Press the right key on your keyboard to move your character right.
So the tutorial just assumes the player is an idiot. Although this was a late edition, I like this very much. I'm going to move the cursor out of the way, of course. And move it along.
Now you're talking. Actually, I'm talking.
I did, although I didn't really write much stuff in this game. All it was basically the tutorial I did a little bit of work on, and also the one or two of the shopkeeps. I think their dialogue I did like a line or two, but the majority of the work is from the original screenplay by Gary Otto, Ben Woodiwiss, and Uwe Boll, Dr. Uwe Boll, I should say. Also, speaking of Uwe Boll, I've written a book you can purchase, The Films of Uwe Boll, Volume 1, the video game movies from Moon Books Publishing. You can just find that on Amazon. Just search for Matt Bradley-Tschirgi, as it says right up there.
To equip your weapon, press the escape key.
I messed up the audio, I think on purpose at this part. Like, it gets very convoluted when you try to explain how to equip weapons and things.
To equip your weapon, press the escape key.
So the audio run, I don't think, we tried to make it kind of janky on purpose for this part.
Press the enter key to select your character, select the weapon slot, then select the Makarov.
So notice how that voiceover is slightly different. I added an extra then in there to sound a bit better. With dialogue, it's really hard because you're coming up with stuff that if you're reading it on a screen, like on a comic book or just plain old text, like a lot of these old RPGs were, it is just something, you know, it's a certain cadence. But then if someone reads that out loud, it's probably not going to be the best thing. You know, they'll probably be a little bit different. So if you play a game where, and this still happens all the time in like real big budget games, if you play a game where like the line someone's speaking is different than what's on the thing, like just kind of ignore it and take it as you will. That's just part of the process.
After all that jazz, press the escape key to return back to the game. Now you've got it. I sure hope you can use it in a battle sometime.
You know, it's a lot of breaking the fourth wall with the narration.
Press the down key to move your character down.
I like it gives the complicated explanation for how to do the equip stuff in a menu, and then it ends with just push down to go down, as if, you know, I assume most players could figure that out, but perhaps not. And so here, this is the default menu stuff that comes in with the RPG Maker MV, and MV is short for mobile version, in case people were wondering. The latest one is MZ, and I'm not sure what Z stands for. And I'd like to upgrade to the newer version of RPG Maker. Would be for my next RPG, who knows. So Makarov pistol, it equips it automatically for you, but if you, and you know, there's like descriptions of weapons and stuff, right? Covers your face from nasty things, made of odd ends. Like I did some of this like minor tech stuff here and there, which was fun. You know, you're trying to do humor, I think is the goal we're going for, even though this is kind of like a straight description. And I did some research on guns for some of these item descriptions too, so what the heck. Game end, I think, just takes you to the title screen. You might as well save, although this game isn't very hard, but this is before the first battle, so let's go.
Oh no! Random enemy is going to attack you. This is going to be worse than Barbarella.
Another thing when recording the voiceovers, I did it at random volumes to make it sound sloppy, like a old CD-ROM games like King's Quest V or something from the 90s. In case anyone is wondering, I'm drinking a little bit of El Cruzan light rum. Light colored rum, I should say. I'm sure the calories are kind of horrendous. And this reference to Barbarella is, of course, the Uwe Boll film Barbarella, which is a parody of Blood Rain, the Third Reich, the third Blood Rain film that was filmed at the same time. He did the parody, he filmed it at the same time, and he was also filming his more serious drama Auschwitz. So all of those use very similar sets. That's neither here nor there. Back to the game.
Use the arrow keys to choose attack or defend, and press enter to confirm your action. Time to give this enemy a hankering for a spanking.
Hankering for a spankering is a Simpsons line, I believe. Gotta go into a fight. Yeah, Gary did these graphics for the enemies, and they're really creative and they look great, and they match the political theme of the game as we go through it. Republican Scourge and Attacking Street Performer. The game development on this took like 2 years, so it took a real long time. So this is like the Dragon Quest Phantasy Star style of combat. Do magic. Don't have any magic yet. Guard is just defense. We don't even have items. So originally when I was doing the fight system in this game, everything was really like wizardry levels of hard. And we decided to tone it down which I think ultimately is for the best. I think you want people to see the ending of the game, especially something that's so driven by narrative as this.
Way to go, little buddy. I sure hope you enjoyed this tutorial.
The condescension is a big part of this too, right? It says little buddy. I mean, the guys are like 1 inch on screen. Oh God, in college, one of my friends described the old Final Fantasy games as like, you got your 4 best friends and the 2 inches, and they're your best friends in the whole world, and you got to help them save everything, as a description of the old 16-bit RPGs, which is what this is trying to go for. And I think that's pretty accurate. You know, the characters look small, like the chibi manga Japanese stuff. This scene here was originally the first scene of the game.
Very good movie from Milos Forman, by the way. Tom Hanks, Jack Murray Abraham, one of the best of all times.
Also, the music is from the loading screen of Uwe Boll singing Falco's "Rock Me Amadeus." So, pretty amusing there if you want to stop and listen to it. I'm not going to read the dialogue out loud, but you know, so these characters have different names than what their real counterparts may or may not be. So that was a pretty that was a very, you know, late change in the game, and I think it works. You know, you read Mad Magazine, they give different names to all the people, and it's that line for that Mad Magazine kind of goofy vibe. So when you have so many cutscenes, I mean, this is like the big tricky thing I had to do all throughout this project, is a screenplay, you know, is meant for a film, and yet I'm taking it to a video game. And you're limited to like this overhead view as you see, right? I can't point. As you see over, as you see over there, right? You have to do it opposite, of course. There's just all these things. What am I trying to say? Excuse me. All these things going on in the game, and you only have the limited perspective, right? So basically all your characters can do is walk up, down, left, and right. They can jump to look a little bit mad or to get some action on the screen. Colors can flash. You can do sound effects every so often or give the player a choice. But really, you're very limited into what you can do, and the limitations make you be a bit more creative. I mean, there's probably 5 different versions of this room. This is again using the assets that came packaged with RPG Maker. America took care of that. You know, he keeps on talking. And in fact, this scene was, not only was it the beginning of the game, it was like the proof of concept thing I did. I had mentioned on my Twitter that I did game design in college, and I like retro game design stuff. My other game is Frankenstein's Bastard Daughter, which you can learn about it. I might stream that some other time. That'd be fun. That's at matwdt.com. And these choices was another kind of late decision you can add. And the idea of the choices are supposed to be kind of funny, but also kind of generic, because you still continued with all the tech stuff going on. See, so Harvey Weinfat says that you can't even get an honest actress to watch you clean, and you hear that screaming, supposed to be kind of pointing to the joke that he's saying. It might be over the top, but I think with humor, this is going for a little bit like the Postal movie, sort of, right? Like that same kind of over the top stuff.
Very good movie from Milos Forman, by the way. Tom Hanks, Jack Murray Abraham, one of the best of all times.
In this opening scene, you know, the main character, Bill Williamson, is just really conflicted. He doesn't want to do the same old shit anymore. But as we see in the plot, that leads to disastrous consequences. You notice in the lower right, there's a little graphic of the main character. That's kind of a bug that happens in some of the scenes, and it might be from an action not making that graphic disappear. The RPG Maker stuff's a bit buggy, even with the drag and drop. It's still tricky to figure some stuff out. This took me 2 years, almost 2 years to make, Gary and I working on it. And I had a full-time job at the time. I mean, I still have a full-time job, of course, but a full-time job. I was working I had like a weekly podcast I was doing that I'm still doing, Sequelcast 2 and Friends. Listen to it at sequelcast2.com, and it's part of the Greenlit Podcast Network. But so I mean, I had a lot going on, and we were living in close quarters to save money for a house. So I mean, I would wake up really early before work and work on this, or after work I'd come home, and for the few hours before Amanda came home from work, I would go and work on this game and working on the weekends. I mean, it really took, including data that I lost at one point, hundreds of hours put into this. So I mean, I would say this is sort of a bug. You have the loading screen, it plays the Amadeus song, and then it doesn't kill it when it gets into the next scene. So I'm making notes because I'm going to patch this. Music on screen. And after loading, boom, boom, boom. Great. So this stuff about aliens, it's pretty sly, but it's we'll see, but it'll present itself in the plot more. It's a bit of a, you're getting predicted. That move took me a bit to figure out, but you see it a lot in these old RPGs like Final Fantasy, where the guy's talking and he gets an armor and his sprite changes, and you notice there's a little like sound effect there. So Harvey Weinfatz is talking about those people, and now this is, goes from cutscene 1 into cutscene 2. There's just a lot of story to get through, and although we did cut out some of it, it's pretty faithful to the main screenplay. So now, he's in a fighting mood, and there's not a criminal to ass kick, not even a cat rapist, as he says. Oh, and there's Uwe Boll himself. All this music stuff here and the sound effects, with a few exceptions on the sound effects, but the music is all stuff that came with the game. We considered some different music at different times. So I did like music spotting for this, I think probably 4 different times during the whole development period. Music is very important to me. I've done, oh hey Extra More, thanks for coming in the chat. If you have anything you'd like to say, please chat away and I can see it and respond. So, I mean, this is a classic Uwe Boll style rant about nations of people. Oh, thanks, we got some viewers, great. Casino, thanks, go with him, thanks for coming in. If you have any questions, just throw it in the chat and I'll answer them when I can. Doing this live stream of my game, Uwe Boll Raw presents President Evil Outwoke. So there you go. It wasn't always like this. The last time we saw Bill Williamson in my acclaimed Rampage trilogy, it was a different era. I'm not going to read the dialogue out loud, but you get the idea. He's going on a rant about because of physical media sales, he couldn't, and people would be paid for movies instead of pirate them. It's different than how things are now. You can't get budgets done like you'd want. So basically, you can do whatever you want with no consequence. But however, if you play this game from an illegal download, I don't know how it would be illegal. The game is free, but he'll hang you from the ceiling from your scrotum, this fictional character version of Uwe Boll. So that was a little thing there in the dialogue. Actually, no, that was right. Okay, so this is the first proper dungeon, apart from the tutorial section. Again, if you want to download this game, it's for free. PC only at uwebolraw.com. So originally, these dungeons here had all sorts of didn't have the people walking around. That was added in kind of later at Gary's suggestion, which was great because it gave it more like an Earthbound flavor, or like in some of the Phantasy Star villages. It feels more lived in. Even though you don't fight these people, you can talk to them and they have jokes and just kind of non sequiturs that that Gary wrote and found, you know, the graphics and things, and it helped liven it up and gives it more humor. And this is ultimately going for humor with this game. Diet of beer and sashimi. Sometimes it looks like the people freeze, and they don't. I just made their walking speed kind of slow. Because otherwise they looked a bit manic. They looked a bit like a cartoon. Is the volume sounding good between the game and the my voice, or is it too low? Looks like it's okay on my audio mixer thing. Whoop! Randomized battles. This is probably my favorite out of the ones he made. The Moscow Republican Mitch Turtle. It's the perfect kind of turtle expression. Raging Bull with a giant Uwe Boll head firing lasers. So not only does it randomize the battles, but it randomizes who participates in the battles. And most of these enemies do like 1 or 2 HP damage, maybe 10. You can die, but you have to try really hard because it's a narrative. We want to keep you going. Notice it said Molotov cocktail learned. So if we go into, I believe it's skills, that's a magic spell, Molotov cocktail, a homegrown surprise in a bottle. So why don't we get all the treasure stuff, because we can. I kind of like it. Gary made a few of these trippy guys in the graphics. When it's dark, and they all rhyme pretty much. When it's dark and murky, I eat beef jerky. So I think that gives it a nice view. You just have to wait for the guys to do their path. And the path could have been wider, I suppose, looking back on it. But let's keep on going, through the plot. Glad we got people watching. This is cool. This guy looks like me, but he's fake Bill Williamson. See? He's the biggest fan. This is meant to be the streets of Vancouver. I'm going to show you a secret in the game. To get the best weapon possible, not that you really need it, you have to go in this... Oh, another battle system. So in this game, hidden are 2 secret weapons, one for each of the characters you play at. And here's the one for the default main character, Bill Williamson. So it's in this corner, and you have to hold down the right key, and you bump into this invisible trigger, essentially, that says, "None shall pass, retarded wizard in the forest." That's a reference to, on one of the Uwe Boll's videos at uwebollraw.com, he goes on a big rant about retarded wizards in the forest. I think he's trying to reference to the Hobbit movies or Lord of the Rings, maybe. Oh, and you have to fight the wizard in the forest. This is a ridiculous graphic. But like for every enemy, you have to go, or I had to go in RPG Maker MV and like customize what the spells were, how often they attack with different things, what the text would say. I mean, that the enemies are so easy kind of defeats the purpose, but you want to have that stuff in there. And so he gives you a new gun, an AK-12. And if we look, we can confirm that it's equipped, right? And if we go back to the Makarov pistol, we'd only have 26 of the graphics. Or, no, what I mean the graphics, the attacks. So there you go. You do get different armor and different treasure chests throughout the game, but I would say that's not the main focus of this, but we should talk to a shopkeep. Our prices are so low, they might drive you into a rampage. It's a reference to the Uwe's Rampage movies. Fun fact, so when Uwe Boll had restaurants in Vancouver, Canada, we used the menu items as inspiration, and to come up with descriptions that were like really short enough to fit this menu stuff was quite difficult. But basically all the items do is repair health. And why not buy 3 of the cheese spatzel? And then you see you go into inventory, right? And heal yourself. Whoops. So we'll go around. Ah! The encounter rate is high on purpose. I did it because that's what all the old video games did, and you want it to be kind of like a ridiculous amount. I think originally when I had it super hard, most people that played it couldn't even get past this first dungeon. But there you go. So now we get more of the plot, and Bill has a wife, as viewers might remember from Rampage 3. And you get Alice talking to Bill. And all this is really complicated. So like I'm making these scenes, and the guys can walk around. If you walk into an area that they can't walk on, when you're testing the game just freezes. So you have to remember in your head, and sometimes count it out, how many steps up, left, right, or down, so they don't walk a step into the table, for example. And it would just break things. It was pretty brittle. I understand it's easier, the process, a little bit in RPG Maker MZ, and I'm excited to try that out when I get it, probably later this year. So Bill is feeling kind of like a 7-year itch sort of thing. He doesn't quite feel, he's a bit off his rocker. He just wants to fight things, but there's nobody really good to fight. And so she wants to get him in a better mood. So this line of dialogue is probably the funniest, one of the things I thought was the funniest thing in the script, is how about if Sad Snookums wants to hide his thick German sausage in my tight worm vagina bun? So he's going to take out the trash. Cock puke inside my clange. It's ridiculous. One really cool thing you can do with RPG Maker is take a scene like this and adjust basically the lighting more or less. It does like a light blue tint over things, and it makes it look like nighttime. It's really effective, so you don't have to redraw every sprite all over again. So Bill is taking out the trash. He's feeling kind of lonely. All of a sudden he gets these lights, a shooting star. Now he's trying to see what is the thing. And I have one in here that's German, that's from like a German nursery rhyme. God, my German's terrible. Spirits in ein den Wind. I don't know, that's probably off. And so, I mean, this really kicks off the plot, this part here. I wish I had a bad guy whose ass I could kick. And we'll see what that wish on a shooting star does pretty soon. This music sounds a bit like Seinfeld. So he hears like the evil laughing, and it kind of strikes a chord with him. But she's trying to make him feel better. Suck out the love. Jeez. Yeah. There you go. And so this guy, we don't know what his name is yet, but it'll be revealed. He looks a little familiar though, doesn't he? He's saying what a dump it is, and why are there all those trees? Why are there all those nice things going on? Make some more vomit. So a joke about SpaceX. And I'm not sure if that effect really worked. It's supposed to be that he's vomiting and you get the sound effect and the colors. That could have been done, I think, perhaps a bit more clear. And now we go, his family is going to the grocery store. This next scene, I think, is one of the more effective cutscenes in the game. Really took, at one point, you know, this grocery store is going to be its own dungeon, and then we went away from that. But by the time we wanted to have it be a dungeon, to stick it in the middle of this cutscene would have been more trouble than it was worth, to kind of undo and redo all this stuff. I think in retrospect, perhaps I should have argued for this to be more of a dungeon early in the game. But I mean, the narrative is the main focus here, not the gameplay. And so you get Bill, his wife, and the two kids. Alice is getting some things to eat, including Uwe Boll, the complete works, and a plug for UweBollRaw.com, and a bottle of piss. So, I mean, this is a standard Herman can't see, so we heard him walk into the bucket of apples. So the mother's all on shopping, the kids want to check out. But who is that? Looks like a Playboy bunny or something in the corner. So this is one of the loading jokes. And these are made on purpose. And it has some of the really good things going on. You know, it has some of the classic Uwe Boll tweets that you can see as we hear this loading data, which is using real sound effects from an old CD-ROM drive that's reading a bad disc. And we have Hot Blonde here. She dropped a pickle. If it's a present, I mean, you have to use your imagination working with all this stuff. Trying to pick it up. What do we got here? Looking at the caboose. This scene, I tried. Was really hard to do because you have this scene that's supposed to be like a sexy American Pie sort of thing, or maybe something out of like a French sex comedy of the '70s. And yet, with these pixels, like you can't do that much. So it had to kind of be more suggestive. And you can make them walk at different speeds, make them jump. There's only so much you can do. I think this works okay, but I think in a movie it'd be funnier than in a game, perhaps. This part I like. You know, I changed the music to kind of cut in to sound kind of dramatic, right? Because the wife, Alice, is mad that he's looking at another woman in a grocery store. And because of this, Alice is going to leave him, as we'll see. There's the intense taxi cab driver. Now Bill feels lonely. It's Alone in the Dark, a reference to the Uwe Boll movie Alone in the Dark, starring Christian Slater. Also got a sequel that does not star Christian Slater, and Uwe only produced that one. Uh-oh, getting the taxi cab. Rowdy teenagers. So you notice there are like these naked kind of tree things there, and what that's doing is those are special tiles that object can pass through. Otherwise, this cutscene kept on locking up when stuff was being thrown at him. So he's getting hands, although that looked like a dildo thrown at him. This scene was originally something else, and it was later. And at one point we cut it entirely, but then we shifted it back. And I think it works. This is kind of a slapstick non sequitur scene. We bring, in this version, we bring Uwe Boll back in. And they're teaching him how to walk the street, an important life skill. That's meant to be kind of like a, oh, what do you call it? Like the tumbleweeds in a Western movie. But there's a car. And you can pitch shift the sound effects. And I did that with the scream sound effect to get some more mileage out of it. So Uwe Boll's illegitimate child number 9 says, no, my dad got hit. And this is the taxi, if you're paying attention, this is the taxi cab that has Alice, Bill Williamson's wife, in it. He's getting smacked. Why they don't notice they're hitting Uwe Boll, I'm not sure. That flashing red is supposed to mean that he dies and he disappears. They would use effects like that, like in Final Fantasy IV, when you're facing the, oh god, like the 4 elementals at the in the first half of the game. And now we're going to the second real dungeon if we don't count the tutorial as a dungeon, which I don't. So we use kind of similar graphics as before, and this is a larger dungeon, of course. Monkey see, monkey do, you know, all these guys have different things to say. Let's see what's in a treasure chest. Some of these are empty, some of these have like good items. Frozen berries, right? And we can look and see the lovely description. This is something that was on the menu at Uwe Boll's former restaurants. And I can't use it if I'm at full health, which I am. However, we can see if you look on status, to get to the next level we need 67 experience points. But we haven't got any new armor or anything like that. You get some armor later in the game, I believe. This is another loading data. Yeah, note that says Uwe Boll Raw Part 2. Uwe Boll was on Twitter twice and got thrown off there twice, unfortunately. He also got thrown off of Letterboxd, which I think was a bigger shame because these Letterboxd reviews were truly something special. If you look on YouTube, there's a good video about that. My teeth just regret listening to that old CD-ROM sound effect. So we're getting different monsters, right? This is a different dungeon. Breast monster is slain. So if any of you people watching, have you ever tried to design a game before or used RPG Maker or like RPGs or just have any questions in general? Feel free to fire away in the chat if you like. I'm more than happy to answer most questions you might have. I don't want to say anything because I'm sure people can find an exception. And that's not a turd, it's a raisin, says VR Dude. So, I mean, this is like the closest we have to puzzles in here. You have to wait for that guy to move out of the way so you can continue on the path. And the cheese spatzel. And why don't we buy some stuff from the shopkeep? It's a far cry from your next meal. In the shopkeep dialogue, I tried to put a reference to all the Uwe Boll movies, and I got pretty close. You don't get much gold, right? So, but you don't have to buy armor. It's all like items. So we can, yeah, let's buy some more. And my health is still 500 out of 500. That's okay. We'll go through the woods. Old Bill Williamson's trying to get home because he had to walk home from the grocery store. Remember? Because his wife left him. There's an army fan looking in great pain. I think with the next enemy I'll do defend so you can see some of the descriptions of their attacks. Because there's humor in that as well. This music's kind of chill. I mean, I have to say for music that comes with the game, or with a RPG Maker MV, it's not so bad. I've certainly played RPGs with worse music. Oh, that's right, I said it was going to guard. He delivers a flesh wound. You know, it's a Monty Python reference for older people might know that one. Great. And that loot for the winning battle thing, it was the closest I could find out of what came with the game for it. So now Bill, he's coming home to his house, right? And this, of course, is the screen reused from that cutscene earlier on when he was walking at night, saying, oh, wish I may, wish I might, all that stuff. I tried to do a slow motion effect there, right, where he walks towards the door. He's like, Alice? Alice, where are you? And the kind of very dramatic music with the brass. Oh, there's a note. And poor Alice, you know, went to his mother's to give him some time about what happened. Stuff isn't working out. But she needs time away. But when she comes back over the weekend, they're going to have a serious talk about their marriage and their lives. And he's thinking, well, cool, this will be like a bachelor's weekend, sort of. But she left the kids behind, that's right, kind of a dad raising the kids kind of domestic humor. And the kids are 13 years old and are still in diapers. That again, that effect's supposed to be vomit with the flashing green and brown on the screen. And you hear something outside. Is it Alice? It's Hillary Clinton. Later she'll be a member of your party. And the joke is that she's drunk all the time. And I used a kind of burping sound effect at different pitches to give it some humor. Might have been overdone a bit, not sure. But I think with comedy, it's typically better to go over the top than to be too feeble with it. So these old friends are reuniting. It's telling her all the stuff about Alice. This music's a bit serious for the scene, I think, but it works okay. He wants, of course, because Hillary Clinton is there, he wants a woman to help with the kids, but I don't think that's going to quite happen. And now, of course, more vomit is all over the place. Could have used a vomit graphic maybe to make that more clear on the table, I don't know. So Hillary's not helping, which is what Bill wants. But to do a lot of the shaking screen, gotta do the loading data in the middle of a cutscene. This actually happened with some real video games, like Xenosaga Episode 1 would let you save in the middle of like a 2-hour cutscene that opens the game or something like that. It's pretty ridiculous. You can see there's beefaroni. Garfield eating beefaroni, that's a new one to me. So the vomit keeps coming and coming. And the kids have to be changed, and they're all covered in poop, so he's going to try to get the kids to calm down, so he's going to put in television. Dr. Dingleberry. Well, so that was something I can fix. There's a typo. Taking my notes. It's Dr. Dingleberry. This is kind of like a music sequence. It's supposed to be a bit like Sideshow Bob and stuff. Notice the audience graphics are all the same graphic, just used over and over again. Because they don't have a whole lot that comes with it that looks like little kid graphics. It's kind of like a... Oh, and it does... So this is another area where it continues the music. Is that
It's disco time.
There we go.
Shake it up. It's all that we
He's singing. It's ridiculous. It's funny. Actor. So I get these sound effects, and he's trying to say like how much do the kids love him, and this is like a Bozo the Clown show. So there's his friend Uncle Dildo. I'm sure that's going to go really well, right? This scene was really hard with the collision stuff because I was hiding items and making them appear, and for the gag at the end, it works kind of. So he gets like whipping cream and some eggs and the egg whisk. And so even though I hid those items, they're still taking up a square. And when I was making this, if the guy hits the square, everything freezes. Very frustrating. And he's about to use the whisk and everything on this guy. And then the TV goes out, so you need the emergency music. What's going to happen to the kids? What else? Okay, yeah, so like RPG Maker I've used for a while. In college I used a hacked version that was translated from Japanese to Russian and then to English. It was like RPG Maker 2000 or something. RPG Maker eventually got legitimate releases in the US through Steam. So, in some ways it hasn't changed that much over the years, surprisingly. But that it lets you port mobile versions and desktop versions on PC and Mac is really cool. So now you're gonna, basically the plot is shifting now, that you're going to Town Hall to talk to the mayor of Vancouver, British Columbia, where the game takes place. And we're gonna see what happens. Can you get the power fixed so the kids can watch TV and everyone can go to bed? Yeah, this is a joke that is kind of goofy. It's something from... It's like a slapsticky thing. Again, stuff like this I found was really challenging to adapt. And then he says, "What the hell is that?" I think almost plays better in the game than it is in the screenplay, because the game is pretty random. That satellite comes important later. But now you go into... Oh, hey Molly, thanks for tuning in. I'm playing this RPG I designed. Spent 2 years working on, based on an unproduced screenplay by Uwe Boll, Otto, and Ben Woodiwiss. Fighting all these wacky enemies. This was made with RPG Maker MV. Everything again was made easy with the battles because the narrative. We can afford some sablefish. Let's do that. There we go. So if you look, I don't know if it's that obvious from where the graphics are. The way the room is spelled out, it spells out Uwe. See, there's the W, and here's the U. That guy has like a nipple on his head or something. This is another long cutscene. I basically kind of, excuse me, changed the graphics from the cutscene earlier in the game. So there you go. And this is a lengthy scene about Bill Williamson getting the mayor to, you know, he's trying to figure out how to get the power restored, and it'll kind of send you on to your next dungeon, more or less. I would say the Bill Williamson character is less of a radical than he is in the films, but this is also more of a comedy, so I think that's fitting. This music, as with all the music in this, comes with the RPG Maker MV, and I like this piece because it sounds 2 notes off from like the castle music in Dragon Warrior 1, or Dragon Quest 1, I guess, on the Nintendo. And so he's talking about that satellite is responsible for all the cell phones having communication in Vancouver, British Columbia. Why do I keep on saying British Columbia after Vancouver? Oh, I live in Portland, Oregon, and just across the river is Vancouver, Washington. And so I find you often have to... Oh, that was a little bug I have to fix right there. It did the anime graphic for the mayor. For the anime face. So there we go. So the horror, that was like an Apocalypse Now reference. And at the end of this, basically, Bill and the mayor are making a deal, right? He says, "You can watch over my kids, and I will go with Hillary Clinton to the dungeon to restore the power." So, yeah. Explosive diarrhea. Got it. Excuse me. So they're leaving the kids, hitting the road, going to the dungeon. We get to go to the overworld, and you get this kind of comic dialogue between them. I wonder when I was designing this, at some point I thought, was it going to make more of an overworld? And at a certain point, it's like you have to keep the story moving. I don't think having an overworld to wander around with the car would make it that much more interesting. So now we got this old man gardener who gives him a leaf blower. This sets up a gag that doesn't pay off in this game. And they talk about how powerful the leaf blower is. So they're teasing Resident Evil 2. And now this is the last dungeon. It's a 2-story dungeon. It's the biggest dungeon in the game. So there we go. He's got to find a way to restore the power. And he's actually going to put Hillary on his team so we can get her special weapon. And she's confused. You see, she's following you around. If we look at her equipment, she has a broken beer bottle, a tiara, and a pantsuit. A formal suit with even more formal pants. I believe her secret weapon that's stronger is here, I think. There it is, the Margarita Chalice. Oh, that's another bug. I gotta fix that graphic. Taking notes. But these are pretty minor bugs, I have to say. Hasn't frozen or anything yet. So now if we go and equip... Oh, we already equipped it on her automatically, I see. It smells like limes and sadness. That was a brief line I came up with. Come on, kid, move out of the way. Oh, that's a picture of me in college. That's funny. Is that another deadline whooshing by? So you just have to wait for these guys to move out of the way. It's kind of annoying. And because we're in the last dungeon, like, all the enemies come together in the one dungeon. So, but still the difficulty is pretty easy, all things considered. There we go. Gaining experience, all that fun stuff. These mazes used to be more complicated as well. There was like a whole flashback sequence that was cut out because it was too long. And we did it to kind of streamline things. Not another dungeon, this might make me siege. That was a reference to the Dungeon Siege movie Uwe Boll directed. Hermione's Horror is this cat. Hermione is one of my dogs, so it was nice to put that as a reference in. It replaced another enemy that was taken out of the game for various reasons. And if we look, Hillary just got a spell. See, Icy Heart. A cold attitude is mightier than the sword, as the saying goes. So we should use that against an enemy and see what it's like. Maybe stock up on items. Quinoa cannelloni. A slice of bread. Why did I make a slice of bread more expensive than quinoa? That's odd. Sure. I mean, all the items do is heal HP. I didn't bother with poison or anything like that. So this second floor of the dungeon is the final dungeon in this game. But I will be putting this playthrough on YouTube and so forth. It'll be up there before too long. So what are we doing, man? I mean, yeah, so we're fighting these attacking street performers that have the political bent to them. So this tile set came with the game, but I wanted it to look organic and kind of gross, kind of like the last few levels of the Ninja Gaiden games. And the enemies in this game are all over the place. That's, like random dudes or political people, which is kind of part of it. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Originally, redneck street trash. Those feet look ridiculous. Originally, when I did this, what was going on was... It was funny, like the middle of the game took a long time to develop, but to develop this dungeon at the end was pretty quickly, it was done pretty quick because I knew how to work everything. However, I made it too difficult and I had to go back and make it easier. It had all these random transporters, and you had to do a very specific sequence. It was something, while like it's amusing to the designer, it would just piss off everyone else. There we go. I think out of the music I picked from that came with RPG Maker to go in there, I think that was my favorite one, that little flute thing when you gain a level. So now we just gotta wait for these people to go. And you can't really speed them along either, you just have to wait. But if you make them go up really fast, it looks like everyone's in cocaine and they're running around screaming. Like it looks a little bit too cartoony. So we can escape too, right? Yeah, so that's something. I mean, technically, if you run away from all the fights, the only battles you have to finish are the one in the tutorial and the one in, what was I going to say? Why is it doing the karaoke track here? That's weird. Okay. Music, near end. So it is revealed at the end, this alien that crash landed is a Trumpu. And so he's going to be the last boss. And like any last boss, he has 2 or 3 forms, right? So using these growling effects, they're trying to give a bit more interest to the scene. This part here with the 3 statues is specifically a reference to Final Fantasy VI, when you're on a floating island and the bad guys are trying, like Kefka and the Emperor Gestal are trying to move around the statues to cause the end of the world or something like that. So I kind of did that as a reference to this kind of surrealistic final room these people are in. And Trumpu smells toxic waste on Bill, and he's, and also gunpowder, and he goes on this like environment, like anti-earth, anti-environmental screed. And that Trumpu looks sort of familiar. So there we go. He's kind of, you know, doing his monologuing thing as we get to fight him. So it turns out, you know, he's actually an alien and not from Earth. So with this plot twist, you fight him, right? Here's Trumpu. Looks pretty nasty. Let's guard, because he has some pretty funny attacks, I seem to remember. He barfs burgers on you, and sesame seeds get stuck in your hair. Where else? What other game could you get such gross details as that? Maybe she'll do the icy heart magic. Oh, we beat the first section of him, but now he's really mad. Taste. Privilege. Next line. This is good. I'm taking notes on the final release. So he's coming again, but now he has a different color, and you know, Final Fantasy, all these games does this all the time. You beat up the boss, he turns red, and he does more damage. However, it's a Pyrrhic victory at best, because the guards take you away. He's going to have him prepared for the tribunals. And these our heroes are in a bad shape. It's a pretty negative ending. But it says part 1 on the title screen, so who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Doing another forced loading screen. with the terrible CD-ROM sound effects. I almost feel like the game could use more of these loading screens, just because the Twitter and the letterbox were such a big thing of Uwe Boll's online kind of presence at the time. Cutscene in the middle of a cutscene that it loaded. It's so silly. So now that you know, it's like kind of doing like Rocky and Bullwinkle, like, can the person be defeated? Find out. And here we go. Got the credits. Based, it's written by Uwe Boll, Gary Otto, Ben Woodiwiss, and I did this under a pen name DP Dent. Galv did the plugins, and we got some sound effects from Zapsplat.com. So hope you enjoyed this stream of Resident Evil, the video game Outwoke Part 1. You can download it for free at uwebollraw.com. That's uwebollraw.com. You can follow me on Twitter at MATWBT. This is Matt Bradley-Tschirgi signing off, and I hope you enjoyed this stream on this one of a few indie games I've worked on over the years. It took me 2 years. I was proud to have worked on it, and it certainly won't be my last game, although I don't know what my next game is going to be. So hope you enjoyed it, and catch you when I stream whatever retro thing I decide to stream next time. Bye!